So is there a different situation here? At the time of the Epistle to the Romans, it was Paul versus the Jewish establishment with the active connivance of the Roman establishment, which had no particular interest in the setting up of religious opposition to Caesar. What about now? It's in a sense the mainstream churches versus the mainstream churches. The Episcopal Church versus the Episcopal Church, the Methodist Church versus the Methodist Church, the Presbyterians and so on, and even to a great and unfortunate degree the Roman Catholics and the Baptists, whom many of us used to believe were a little bit more solid in their viewpoints than they have lately seemed to have become. Well, Mortal Follies, the book that I wrote, deals with a church bent on destroying its heritage. Its supposedly worn down heritage, which isn't sharp any longer. It's kind of tatty, like your grandmother's living room upholstery. Seen better days. I don't get it. I don't get it, frankly. The riches, the treasure of the Christian faith, handed down to us by the consistent witness of Christians. They don't rate the forgiveness of sins. That doesn't rate as a treasure to be brought before, to be brought to the attention of those who might otherwise despair of themselves and of their prospects, and the prospects of their families. Patting the culture on the back, giving it a friendly nudge in the ribs. That's what counts today? Well, it seems to count to many, not simply outside the religious establishment, but inside it. It's a very sorrowful thing to see. Not the way we're used to hearing things. When Paul, for instance, remember, he says, we're all under sin. Jews are under sin. Gentiles are under sin. There is none righteous. No, not one. There is no fear of God before their eyes. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Now, the presiding bishop talks about outcasts, lepers. What we all need, in her view, it sometimes seems to me, is a big old group hug. We need to put our arms around each other and affirm each other and pat each other on the back and love each other up and down. That, it seems to me, is the logical deduction from the kind of weak church theory and practice that we find so common today. But I'm not sure a hug, I mean even one from a presiding bishop, is going to help me as much as a confession of sin is going to. And what's that confession? That we're all in a mess. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. You see, it's not our personal relationships that we have to get right. Oh, we should. We should get our personal relationships in repair. But the main relationship that we have to get in repair is the relationship to God, which is where it all begins. If our relationship with God is imperfect, as it actually almost always is, but if it is so tattered and torn and neglected that we barely have an idea of what it means to have a relationship with God, then it seems to me that the relationships that we are going to have with our fellow creatures of God are going to be very tattered and torn and imperfect also. It is He that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Oh, go your way into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and speak good of his name, for the Lord is gracious. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth from generation to generation. That's the 95th Psalm, which Episcopalians used to start the day with in morning prayer. And what a catalog of glories it has to be considered. It is he that hath made us, not we ourselves. Boy, isn't that a relief? It certainly is to me, because if I had made myself after the manner that my wife could describe with greater intensity than I can myself, then I would feel extremely guilty for slovenly workmanship. And I don't have to. Because God made me an imperfect creature, but nonetheless one able to crawl slowly toward his light, toward the light that he shines on those in darkness. The Lord is gracious. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth from generation to generation. Now I'm sorry, I slipped up there. The word truth just cropped up, and I couldn't help it. Big as life. Truth meaning the way things are. Not the way we think they are, the way they are. Not the way we're going to make them. With a few more elections, a few more New York Times editorials, a few more group hugs, some sensitivity training sessions. Reality is reality. I have to tell you, this is Fort Worth, this is not Dallas. That's up and that's down. Nor is there any prospect of our turning them in a different direction by supposing that we, as the authors of our destinies, have a better idea than the God who made us. We have to live with the reality. And it's a great reality that God himself has created for us. And he has given us the minds and the eyes and the ears to appreciate this reality. We need to hear how things really are. Because everything else, I'm sorry to tell you, everything else is fantasy. If not indeed mass psychosis. The reality in our lives, it's what we call God, or the will of God, or the mighty acts of God. And it's what the church is in business to proclaim with pride, with joy, with love. That's our task. That's our job. So, why don't we? Why can't we? I mean, don't we have eyes? Don't we have ears? I think we do. The question becomes, don't we use them? That could be the real question. If we have eyes and ears, why don't we use them? Why don't we keep them propped open instead of half closed?